Hey there gamers, DreamcastGuy here, and today we're talking about the Game Awards because they just announced the categories and the nominees for all the different categories, from Best Ongoing Game to Best Game of the Year to Best RPG to Best Fighting Game, and I gotta admit that a lot of the nominations, they're actually frustrating because I just feel like how this stuff gets selected, how these games get picked, it just seems so incredibly stupid. But let's talk about the different nominees because it seems like everybody online is instantly pissed. Let's discuss. Hi, hope you're having a great day, and if you could please give this video a like and subscribe.
The one thing I will add is, at the end of the day, right? Whatever the Game Awards is from Jeff Keighley, I don't think it matters in the grand scheme of things. It doesn't really affect you as a gamer. In the end, you still play the games that you enjoy. Whether they appeared, your game of the year will be different to someone else's. My game of the year last year was Alan Wake 2. Hands down, no game came close to it. For me, personally. And that won't change. So, in the end, these awards, it's just a show. It means nothing.
If you haven't already. Now, here it is. Let's begin with what is definitely the most controversial, which is the picks for Game of the Year. Now, I know some people are going to go, nobody actually cares about the Game Awards, but I think they do. This is the biggest, most prolific, public-facing award show that the gaming industry has ever had. This has tens of millions.
Actually, the one that's the most important is the BAFTA Awards that happen in July, I think. That's probably the biggest one where the proper awards go out, not this one. The reason why people flock to this, and the reason why I look forward to it every year, it's for the trailers. They reveal some new games and stuff that's going to come out. So that's why they get more views than any other award show.
Sometimes even hundreds of millions of eyes on it. Now, a lot of those people are watching for the trailers and they don't actually care about the awards, but I still...
There you go. By the way, I haven't seen this, by the way, so clearly he already knows.
Think they matter. So here is their 6 picks of what they think are the best games. One of them is going to be the winner of winners, but we've got Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring's DLC, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor ReFantasio. Now, I'm not going to say any of these are bad games. I've beaten all these games. I think they're definitely all 9.5s or 10 out of 10 games, especially stuff like Rebirth, Metaphor, and I definitely loved Astrobot. I've been very addicted to Balatro, but to me, the two odd men out, Black Myth Wukong, I am surprised to see that there. Personally, I enjoyed Stellar Blade a lot more than Black Myth Wukong, but Black Myth Wukong...
I feel so dirty for saying that I agree with him there. I'm going to have to bleach myself or something. I feel dirty for saying that, but I do agree with him for saying that.
Is a good game. I think a lot of people are upset about Elden Ring's DLC because this is in a bunch of categories. We're going to take a look at it, but Elden Ring has already swept the Game Awards. Elden Ring already won a bunch of stuff, so the fact that it is once again possibly going to sweep the Game Awards, but this time with downloadable content, people are going, okay, well, it's neat that Balatro, an indie game made by one person, is being heralded as this monumental titan among the other big games, but it is weird to think about the fact that, like, I see people just being, they did it. They actually left out Silent Hill 2 Remake. It's so bizarre.
The thing is, outside of the performance issues with Silent Hill 2 Remake, anyone that's played it, and I'm going to play it soon, and we're going to, stream it and see what it's like. I haven't heard a single person that's actually played Silent Hill 2 Remake that's turned around and said it isn't an amazing game. There's performance issues. That's fine. That's, documented everywhere. But anyone that's played it, not one person that I've spoken to, and maybe there's someone in chat that's going to be that first person, legitimately, don't troll me now, to say that it was a bad game. But not one person that I've spoken to has said it was a bad game. And it reviewed higher than Wukong as well. Wukong got, I think, 81 on PC and a 76 on PlayStation in terms of Metacritic. We're talking a 76 is being put up there for nomination for Game of the Year. That's awful. At that point, why wasn't Starfield nominated last year for Game of the Year? It got an 85. It's way better than a 76, right? I mean, an 85 is like a whole 9 points higher. So why wasn't that nominated for it? It's just weird. I mean, to be fair, I didn't expect Wukong to be nominated at all, because of the whole drama that went about it, because it didn't have a female Monkey King. But, I think it was, I think it was GameSpot that actually reviewed it badly because it didn't have, like I said, a diverse character, so you couldn't play as a female Monkey King, which is weird. But, I don't think I think it was a graphically okay game. I think it was a decent Souls game, but I don't think it should have been in the Game of the Year awards. The one game I thought that wasn't going to be there, this one, and it was there. I was right about Stellar Blade, at least, because that had a really hot character, and obviously that's not allowed in 2024. If you look sexy, you're out for the count.
I like the fact that Elden Ring is so good. It is some of the best DLC I've played. I beat it, and God, I do love that DLC. But other games like Infinite Wealth, I feel like that's much more deserving. I mean, a lot of people are saying it's not a standalone game. It feels like other games are being robbed for sure. Now, here's all the different categories they have.
Let me bring this up because I'm probably going to put this on the thing. Now, in terms of a remake, if you're talking about a game that was made 3 weeks ago, like Sony likes to do with the Horizon series, every few weeks they like to announce a remake that's for the game that's coming out. That's a no-go. But Silent Hill 2 was released, 25 years ago? 20 years ago? I mean, it was on the PS2, right? If I'm not mistaken. So we're talking about 20 years ago. At this point, it's been completely and utterly remade from scratch. I think that's a little different to having Horizon Zero Dawn remastered or remade, where they're using the same assets, almost with the same blueprint and going about it. So I think it's slightly different. Now, if Silent Hill 2 was released 2 years prior to that, or a year prior to that, and then they said, hey, we're doing a remake just because, just like Sony like to do, then I think that would be an issue. Like with Resident Evil 4 Remake, that one I personally had a problem with, because Resident Evil 4 was released not that long ago, right? There's been 20 versions of Resident Evil 4, and they've been very close to each other in terms of release. So that one was way dodgy for me last year, and I wouldn't have put it in there. Silent Hill 2, which has been 20 years now? I think that one is okay, but that's just my opinion. So I think there's a nuance to it all. It's not clear cut. There has to be some common sense there between the two. 5 weeks between each game, there's probably a problem there. 20 years, I think that's fine.
Best narrative, best community support, best family game, but I wanted to go through a couple that definitely caught my eye the most. Best RPG, even this category I feel like gets increasingly watered down. It originally was much more hardcore. All these games I think count for the most part, but I am disappointed to see so much of Elden Ring in here. I just feel like other RPGs deserve that spotlight. Other games deserve to be cheerleaded, to be talked about over this admittedly very good DLC, but it does feel like I just think that in general, the Game Awards, their idea of these things is just so wishy-washy. Like, best action adventure game, freaking Echoes of Wisdom, Star Wars Outlaws. Now, I know I'm one person that I did not hate Star Wars Outlaws, but let's face it, 99% of the internet despises this game. It's so...
Wait, so this is getting disturbing. What have you done? What have you done, Devastator? So that means me, Woodpit, and DCG are in the 1% of people that actually enjoyed Star Wars? This is starting to sound very, very depressing, by the way, guys. I'm just putting it out there. This is getting depressing. But I agree with the whole Elden Ring thing. It's a DLC. You can't play it outright. You know, Endwalker last year got a 92. Shadowbringers got a 93. Why wasn't that included? Why wasn't what was the DLC for something Liberty for Cyberpunk? Why wasn't that counted? That apparently was absolutely amazing, right? So, you know, and that was standalone, if I recall correctly. You could actually start that on its own. So why wasn't that counted for Game of the Year? It's really weird that they've added Elden Ring here and they've tried to justify it. And clearly the justification for it is the news that Sony might be buying Kadokawa. That is the only justification that actually makes sense to me. This was, again, just a pure shill move by Jeff to actually get it in there because of that news, because it might become a PlayStation IP. That's the only reason I can think. But you have to play, what, 30, 40 hours before you even can access the DLC? That's crazy. Next year, if you turn around and tell someone, hey man, you should check out 2024's Game of the Year. It's Elden Ring Urtria. They go and go, oh, right, man, let's go. Oh, by the way, you need to play like 100 hours before you can get to the DLC, and you have to buy another game. And after you've bought that game, you need to buy Urtria as well, which is like this, you know, another 50 quid. So, yeah, you're gonna spend like £120 on the game, and then you have to play like 100 hours before you can get to that point to actually start the DLC, and you might actually miss it because it's not even part of the main path. It's like an optional boss that you might not even find because some people didn't. It's a weird entry.
So badly, they basically posted a public apology about how busted it was at day one. Now, Jeff Keighley, the organizer of the Game Awards, he said straight up, I'm not picking these, the panel of judges is. Essentially, there are 20...
Bullshit.
9 different categories and hundreds of different websites. Everybody from Eurogamer to Polygon to IGN to GameSpot. They get their reviewers, the people that have actually played hundreds of hours of these games, they have them actually pick what games they think are the most deserving of each of these categories. So it's weird to think that these are the games they think are the best of the best of the best, especially because not only was Star Wars Outlaws very glitchy at launch, but it got a lot of 7 out of 10s. Is it because it had so much action? Like, I wouldn't even count Silent Hill 2 as an action adventure. I mean, it's spooky and great.
Isn't that what I said when we were going through this? Didn't I kind of stutter when I came to this category and I said Silent Hill 2 doesn't really fit here? I said that before we actually started this video when we were going through it. Because that's true. It doesn't make sense. It's that should have been, they should add like a survival horror category and then put all the survival horrors in there and have you pick them.
I guess it's literally that they're just trying to figure out what stuff should go where. Now, this is one I do think is interesting, which is Best Performance, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. That's obviously the actress playing Aerith. We've got Luke Roberts from Silent Hill 2. Melina Jorgens from Senua's Saga. This is another one that just doesn't make sense.
Okay,
I did not like
bollocks.
Senua's Saga, but also I didn't really think her acting was that great. A lot of these...
Okay, that's bollocks. She did an amazing job. I will say that I think the Hellblade 1 performance was way better because it focused more on the psychosis than Hellblade 2 did, and that was Hellblade 2's, I think, biggest downfall, essentially. It decided to put the psychosis as an afterthought rather than the main focus, which the first game did, and that's why the first game was really, really good, because you kind of felt the psychosis as if it was affecting you. Whereas in this game, it almost felt like it was an afterthought, but other than that, I think her performance was absolutely amazing.
Star Wars Outlaws. How is there so much Star Wars Outlaws? That game sold 12 copies, and
wait, how does one actually dress as DCG Sanchez? That's just what, a red T-shirt and a Dreamcast cap.
Four of them were returned. Just utterly confusing.
You have a weird fetish, my
This
guy.
is the part, though, that actually gets me the most. Now watch. I'm going to click back and forth. Look at this. Isn't that amazing? 2 categories with the exact same thing. I feel like this waters down the impact of Game of the Year. Like, okay, here's Game of the Year. Here's Best Game Direction. I love Balatro. I have now played way too many hours. I bought Balatro on both Steam Deck, I bought it on my phone, and I bought it on my Nintendo Switch. It's my primary freaking treadmill game now. I play it literally 30 minutes every single day while...
Gorsty tipped £1.99 through Super Chat. New name for the channel, DreamcastGuy.
I feel I don't have words, Gorsty. And I know as a Scouser you wanted to hit me right where it hurt. We still knocked you out of the FA Cup. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, Jug, that game is so fun, but I would not think of it as a game with outstanding creative vision and innovation. And again, the Elden Ring DLC. That is not a game I think has any crazy outstanding innovation. It's just more Elden Ring. Now, I've said that I think Elden Ring is one of the best games ever, but I would not think the DLC is innovative because it is just more Elden Ring. Like, why coming up with 29 different categories if the nominations just feel like they're being randomly picked out of a hat? Now, I got 3 more categories I want to look at here, but I am truly flabbergasted. Best Narrative, FF7 Rebirth, Silent Hill 2. Some of these make sense. I think Infinite Wealth, I liked Infinite Wealth, but a lot of Yakuza fans said they didn't like. Honestly, they didn't care as much for the story, so the fact that it's winning Best Story is a bit strange.
Don't do it.
I feel like Silent Hill 2 is definitely going to win this, or possibly Rebirth, because the story in Rebirth is good. But again, Sinuous Saga.
So he clearly has a hate boner for Hellblade 2. I thought the story in Hellblade 2 was actually really good. I didn't like the fact that they didn't focus on the psychosis as much, which I think was a little disappointing. But the story itself and how they used her and abused her and took advantage of her psychosis in trying to get her to do all the work because she was a warrior and they wasn't, and essentially putting her in the firing line to take all the heat, risk her life while they just sat there doing jack. The whole kind of journey and the way it came together, and if you actually played it a second time, where you actually unlocked the narrators, and you could actually pick different characters to do the narration, and if you played it through with those, it gives you a lot more like backstory on their mindsets in how they were fooling Senua and tricking her and abusing her. They were feeling, they felt bad for it, but at the same time, they needed to protect number one, which was themselves, and so they had no problem actually sending her into the lion's den, into Hell's Inferno, while they just sat back and enjoyed a cup of tea. And watching that journey and the mindsets around it and different thought processes and different ways of the whole way it came together, it's clear that he just blitzed through it and didn't give a shit about the story at all. Well, I mean, most of the people that played it didn't. But anyone that actually cared for the story and the narration for this game will know that Hellblade 2's story is actually quite good. And if you decided to actually sit down and actually listen to what was being said, and maybe play it through a couple times to hear the different narratives as you went through, because it really changes the landscape of how you're playing it and what you're experiencing, because it just gives you a different perspective entirely from the story, because it's not just from the main narrator or your psychosis. It's coming from a third party that basically is out for hit themselves only. It's very different, and I totally disagree with him here. And clearly, he's just taking a dig at Hellblade at every opportunity he gets. He's clearly got a hate boner for Hellblade, which is a shame. Whether it will win Best Narrative is a different matter. I'm not saying it will win because I haven't fully played Metaphor or ReFantazio. Like I said, I think I've played like 2 hours, an hour, 3 hours of Metaphor. I haven't checked my playtime on here. I know the demo is like 6-7 hours, I think it is. So I know I haven't finished the demo, but I played quite a bit of the demo, enough to enjoy the game and, buy it. Rebirth, I pretty much know what that is. He's already said that this has got mixed reviews, so, in terms of actual narrative, it's pretty much between these two based on just what he's saying, but to completely dismiss this is just asinine stupid.
To me, this feels like they're just trying to, grab attention. They can't think of any other games. Are you telling me, I did a video about this, there were over 10,000 games released this year. 10,000. Are you telling me of the 10,000 games that are out there, that Senua Saga, that game is one of the best narratives? You've got to be kidding me. This is not a serious competition. Okay. Best independent game, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, Neva, UFO 50, Balatro Animal Well. I'm sure a lot of these are great. I did hear good things about Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. I'll be honest, I've not even heard of Neva or UFO 50. I did hear good things about Animal Well, but I'm not really in a Metroidvania move, so I haven't played that one yet. Outstanding creative and technical achievement in a game made outside traditional publications. I am just confused by a lot of this stuff. Best ongoing game, every year, this ends up being something. Honestly, I would have probably given Helldivers 2 a nomination for Game of the Year before freaking Elden Ring DLC. God. Best ongoing game, I'd probably give that to Diablo 4. I think Diablo 4 became a million times better this year. That's a seasonal action game where you're constantly trying to kill demons and get gear and stuff like that. Each of the new seasons have been better and better and better. I am baffled that this stuff, it just feels like of these 29 categories, 80% nobody cares about. Stuff like best esports athlete.
No one cares.
Random racing game, best adaptation. Nobody cares about this stuff. And I feel like if you keep giving these random nominations that don't make sense, people are going to care less and less about the Game Awards. Well, I'm going to watch it on December 12th. We'll live stream it. But I got to say, this is dramatically worse than my lowest expectations. What the heck? Chille, what the heck? Please like the video if you enjoyed it. And if you...
there's quite a bit I agreed with him. There's a few things I agree with him, but yeah, I totally disagree with him. I totally disagree with the whole Hellblade thing. I think he's been a bit harsh on it, but that's just my opinion. Again, I'm not saying it will win, but to be that dismissive about it just because it's Hellblade is just stupid. But it is what it is. I don't expect him to be any different whatsoever. The fact that he said Helldivers 2 for Game of the Year when Helldivers pretty much killed their own game. They promised that there would be no nerfs to the game, and all they've done is nerfed every weapon in the game until it became unfun. Is weird, right? That's weird. But no one remembers the bad. Only the good. You don't build. I mean, Helldivers launched amazing. PC carried it quite aggressively, which is fine. That's the whole purpose of releasing it multi-platform. No problem there. But they murdered their own game. Their player base dropped so bad that they couldn't even defend against the droids. At one point, I remembered they were boycotting the game because of all the nerfs and letting the Terminators come and destroy Super Earth, and the developers had to stop it because if Super Earth dies, the game's over. And so they actually put defenses in place to make sure that didn't happen because the players weren't playing. When a developer screws up that badly, there are problems there. And to call it Game of the Year, I disagree.